Following Jesus isn't always easy, but it's not complicated. This is Simple Faith in 5. Each weekday, we take the teachings of Jesus combined with a spiritual discipline and grow our faith in 5-minute increments. Click subscribe to make sure you don't miss a one. There once was a man who was not a follower of Jesus, but he believed he lived. He just didn't believe he was the Son of God. He grew up working, going to synagogue, observing Jewish law. He was passionate about anyone who was against the Jews. You see, for us, Judaism was just another religion, but for them and for him, it was a way of life, a heritage, a political system, and their connection with God. And for Saul of Tarsus, he was a great Jew. He'd grown up reading the Old Testament and hearing how the prophets would say, Israel, if you don't get it together, God will abandon you, and they wouldn't. So God let a neighboring country come in and enslave or oppress them for years, and so occasionally there were passionate Jews who would try to stop other Jews from making God mad. They'd hunt them down, imprison them, kill them, all in the name of being passionate about their faith. Saul grew up thinking, I'll do that. I'll be the one who brings God's favor back on us. So when he got word that there was a carpenter from Nazareth who had been crucified and now his followers were running around saying he was alive and they were leaving Judaism to follow Jesus, he thought, I'll put a stop to this. He began making threats. He began pursuing and imprisoning Christians. He even showed up one day in Jerusalem and oversaw the stoning of a young preacher named Stephen. He watched as they killed him. He held their coats so they could get a good swing at him, and he thought, I am helping advance the cause. God must be so happy with me. But then he headed to Damascus. He was headed there to find more Christians. But at this point was when the young up-and-comer, the rising star, feared by all Christians, his life was changed forever. On his way to Damascus, something happened. He saw Jesus. The resurrected Jesus appeared to him, and Saul would never be the same. In fact, Saul even got a new name, and that is Paul. For the rest of his life, Paul would spend his days telling people about Jesus, writing letters about Jesus, and starting churches to proclaim Jesus. You see, we now refer to him as the Apostle Paul, one who had seen Jesus and one who told others about Jesus. Of the 27 books in the New Testament, he wrote 13 of them, nearly half. He gave us the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13, often read at weddings. He gave us our understanding of the resurrection and how Jesus fits into Jewish history. He gave us such verses as, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He gave us phrases like, all things work together for the good for those who are called according to his purpose. He's one of the most talked about figures in human history. There are more books and studies done on his life than all athletes, movie stars, and rock stars combined. His conversion story is one of the major reasons Jews still come to faith today. You can see where he lived, travel where he taught, and where he was imprisoned, and see where he died. He lived under and was executed by the Roman rule and persecution of Nero, a man who thought he'd live forever as one of the greatest emperors to ever grace the earth. And 2,000 years later, we name our sons Paul and our dogs Nero. He was tempted to give up, to quit. He was beaten and left for dead multiple times, and he was imprisoned. He had rocks and insults hurled at him, and he never gave up. Why is that? I believe it's because of what he saw in Jesus. This is what he writes about Jesus in his letter to the Colossians. He says, the Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have supremacy. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. Once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behavior. But now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. If you continue in your faith, established and firm, and do not move from the hope held out in the gospel. This is the gospel that you heard and that has been proclaimed to every creature under heaven, and of which I, Paul, have become a servant." That's his centering prayer. Jesus, you are the one true God, and I have become your servant. Our spiritual discipline this week is a centering prayer, one like, "Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner." But today, we're going to use this one, "Jesus, will you make yourself known to me this year?" Well, have a great day, and as always, keep it simple.